Hi, today we're covering an hour of Reddit copypastas to fall asleep to. I have noticed that, although this subreddit has 481k readers, I am not receiving 481k upvotes on my posts. I'm not sure if this is being done intentionally or if these friends are forgetting to click upvote. Either way, I've had enough. I have compiled a spreadsheet of individuals who have forgotten to upvote my most recent posts. After 2 consecutive strikes, your name is automatically highlighted, shown in red, and I am immediately notified. 3 consecutive strikes and you can expect an in-person consultation. Think about your actions. In Korea, heart surgeon. Number 1. Steady hand. One day, Kim Jong-un need new heart. I do operation. But mistake. Kim Jong-un die. SSD very mad. I hide fishing boat, come to America. No English, no food, no money. Daryl give me job. Now I have house, American car and new woman. Daryl save life. My big secret. I finish Kim Jong-un on purpose. I good surgeon. The best. I hate gaming laptops. Today when I walked into my economics class I saw something I dread every time I close my eyes. Someone had brought their new gaming laptop to class. The forklift he used to bring it was still running idle at the back. I started sweating as I sat down and gazed over at the 700-pound beast that was his laptop. He had already reinforced his desk with steel support beams and was in the process of finding an outlet for a power cable thicker than Amy Schumer's thigh. I start shaking. I keep telling myself I'm going to be alright and that there's nothing to worry about. He somehow finds a fing outlet. Tears are running down my cheeks as I send my last text to my family saying I love them. The teacher starts the lecture, and the student turns his laptop on. The colored lights on his RGB backlit keyboard flare to life like a nuclear flash, and a deep humming fills my ears and shakes my very soul. The entire city power grid goes dark. The classroom begins to shake as the massive fans begin to spin. In mere seconds my world has gone from vibrant life, to a dark, earth-shattering void where my body is getting torn apart by the 150 miles per hour gale force winds and the 500 decibel groan of the cooling fans. As my body finally surrenders, I weep, as my school and my city go under. I hate gaming laptops. Own a musket for home defense. Own a musket for home defense, since that's what the founding fathers intended. 4 ruffians break into my house. What the devil? As I grab my powdered wig and Kentucky rifle. Blow a golf ball-sized hole through the first man, he's dead on the spot. Draw my pistol on the second man, miss him entirely because it's smooth bore and nails the neighbor's dog. I have to resort to the cannon mounted at the top of the stairs loaded with grape shot. Tally-ho lads, the grape shot shreds 2 men in the blast, the sound and extra shrapnel set off car alarms. Fix bayonet and charge the last terrified rapscallion. He bleeds out waiting on the police to arrive since triangular bayonet wounds are impossible to stitch up. Just as the founding fathers intended. Some girl in our group chat said meow and my friend wrote this entire response by hand. Wow, will you meow like a cat. That means you are one, right? Shut up. If you really want to be put on a leash and treated like a domestic animal, then that's called a fetish, not quirky or cute. What part of you seriously thinks that any part of acting like a feline establishes a reputation of appreciation? Is it your lack of any defining aspect of personality that urges you to resort to shitty representations of cats to create an illusion of meaning in your worthless life? Wearing cat ears in the shape of headbands further notes the complete absence of human attribution to your false sense of personality, such as intelligence or charisma in any form or shape. Where do you think this mindset's gonna lead you? You think you're funny, random, quirky even? What makes you think that acting like a fing cat will make a goddamn hyena laugh? I, personally, feel extremely sympathetic towards you as your only escape from the worthless thing you call your existence is to pretend to be an animal. But it's not a worthy choice to assert this horrifying fact as a dominant trait, mainly because personality traits require an initial personality to lay their foundation on. You're not worthy of anybody's time, so go F off, cat girl. Dear women who post pics on Reddit. Stop with the I bet you'll never guess what's under my dress. It's tits. It's always fucking tits. This is no mystery to anyone, and human anatomy has been the same for over 100k years. Seriously, shut up. You all do this. Do you really think your tits and hole are so special that they're going to shift our collective consciousness or something? I bet the guys at the gym wonder what's under my yoga pants. I bet they already know, and if they don't, maybe you shouldn't be at a kid gym for 4-year-olds. We did it, boys, racism is no more. My fellow Americans, due to the overwhelming amount of black squares teenage girls are posting on Instagram, the Supreme Court has decided to end racism completely. We did not think you would go to such extreme measures, but you have very much proved your point. The military will be told to stand down, just please stop. Thank you. Ida for not showing up to my own funeral? So I, 74M, was recently hit by a car, 2014 Honda, and died. My wife, 5F, organized me a funeral, cost $2,747, without asking me, 74M, at all. I, 74M, was unable to make it because I, 74M, was dead, 17 days. At the funeral I heard my dad, 15M, and other family members talking about how they wish I could be there, and now I feel bad for not showing up. Ida? Found on the Cyberpunk 2077 subreddit. This game is so buggy that even the character creator is broken. I heard that the game had some bugs, but I wasn't expecting them to hurt my experience so quickly. I was making my character and I got to the genitals option and gave my character a penis. I scrolled through the size option and noticed a game-breaking bug. The labels are wrong for the penises. I gave my character what was labeled as small penis and was surprised to find that it was way bigger than my real penis. This is a serious game-breaking bug and CD Projekt Red needs to make fixing this issue its #1 priority. Ida for killing my political rival to win the election? Using an alt account because if people trace this back to me, my re-election chances might get hurt. I, 74M, am finishing up my first term as President of the United States of America. Let me tell you, America is an incredible country, probably one of the best countries in the whole nation. As my re-election comes closer and closer, my opponent Sleepy Joe has been leading in approval ratings, and I began to get worried. Let me tell you, I am the best at being worried. Just ask anybody in my administration, I get worried like no other president. Anyways, I was considering putting Sleepy Joe to sleep for good, which I think is a service not only to his family, but also the nation as a whole. I was going to ask my good pal Putin to borrow some of that poison he's using to silence the libtards in his country. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Edit, I'm not Donald Trump. Edit 2, stop saying I'm Donald Trump. How Trump can still win. Under Section 34 of Secure Credits and Taxes Act, the president can induce artificial inflation, and if the inflation gets high enough, technically Trump can declare emergency powers and not leave the office. Google Trump Scat Inflation Rule 34 for more info. A frat guy at my university had a meltdown that we memed to shit as a copypasta. Might as well share it here and see what you do with it. What I think people who are not in the Greek system need to understand is that partying isn't just something we do. It's ingrained into our lives. Many people, these days, are perfectly content with sitting on their computers all day playing video games. I used to be a competitive gamer and I used to do this. After joining the Greek system, partying became a new norm that was ingrained into my life. We need it for our well-being. It helps us escape society. There have even been studies that show how necessary gatherings are for our well-being. The fact that it was stripped away from us, especially by something that barely affects us specifically, is very detrimental to our mental state. People are giving us so much crap for it, yet they don't know what it's like for us to be deprived of everything that's fun for us. Everyone gets $1 billion. Jeff Bezos has $121 billion. The population of Earth is 7 billion people. He could give every person $1 billion and end poverty, and he would still have $114 billion left over, but he won't do it. This is what capitalist greed looks like. Donald Trump also answers the following question: what is 2 plus 2? I have to say a lot of people have been asking this question. No, really. A lot of people come up to me and they ask me. They say, what's 2 plus 2? And I tell them, look, we know what 2 plus 2 is. We've had almost 8 years of the worst kind of math you can imagine. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Addition and subtraction of the 1s, the 2s and the 3s. It's terrible. It's just terrible. Look, if you want to know what 2 plus 2 is, do you want to know what 2 plus 2 is? I'll tell you. First of all, the number 2. By the way, I love the number 2. It's probably my favorite number. No, it is my favorite number. You know what, it's probably more like the number 2 but with a lot of zeros behind it. A lot. If I'm being honest, I like a lot of zeros. Except for Marco Rubio, now he's a zero that I don't like. Though, I probably shouldn't say that. He's a nice guy, but he's like 10,101,101, on and on, like that. He's like a computer. You know what I mean? He's like a computer. I don't know. I mean, you know. So, we have all these numbers and we can add them and subtract them and add them. Times them even. Did you know that? We can times them or divide them. They don't tell you that, and I'll tell you, no one is better at the order of operations than me. You wouldn't believe it. That I can tell you. So, we're gonna be the best on 2 plus 2, believe me. Okay? Alright. Thank you. Reporter 1, but what actually is 2 plus 2? Trump, sit down. No, sit down. I've already answered your question. Haven't I already answered your question? This is what we get from news reporters, folks. Give me a nice question. Yes, you. Reporter 2, is your name Donald Trump? Trump, now that's a nice question, folks. That's what I want. Hit or miss? To hit, or not to hit? Dost thou ever miss? I suppose it not. You have a male love interest, yet I would wager he does not kiss thee, ye old moi. Furthermore, he will find another lass like he won't miss thee. And at the end of it all, he is going to skirt, and he will hit that dab, as if he were the man known by the name of Wiz Khalifa. Family Feud. Steve Harvey, we asked 100 people, what is the male reproductive organ? Contestant, the penis sh, a what? Huh? Audience erupts into laughter. Steve Harvey grabs onto podium to support himself. Laughter gets even louder. Sh, oh lordy. One man goes into cardiac arrest and many others begin vomiting profusely from laughing too hard. Sh, you people need help. The earth shatters and Satan rises from the underworld to claim unworthy souls. The universe begins rapidly closing in on itself. Sh, putting on a weary voice, survey says. The board shows 100 for penis. Harvey is able to get off one more shocked look before existence as we know it comes to an end. If your doctor spoke like Trump. If your doctor spoke like Trump. So it seems you've tested positive for the Chinese virus, the so-called COVID-19, the corona, nobody knows what to call it, quite frankly. It's the most amazing thing, no one knew anything about corona until a few weeks ago. But the moment I heard about it, the Wuhan flu, it's also the Wuhan, or Wuhan, that's a city in China. Many people don't know that. But the moment I heard about this Chinese flu, I ordered a test. And it's an amazing test. We do better testing than anywhere in the world. Some say the Germans have the best tests, but they don't. Our tests are even better. So you're positive for corona. And usually positive is a positive word, it's a very good word, frankly. Everybody thinks it's good, apart from what you hear on the news, which is fake. It's largely fake. But in medicine, positive is not so good. So it's very confusing. And I've always been very clear about that. Some say positive is always good, but I've never agreed with that. So you're positive for the corona. But you'll be fine. Totally fine. You might think you're going to die, and everybody does die, eventually. But you'll be fine. You feel fine, right? You won't need a ventilator. There are no ventilators, but you won't need one. How old are you? 55. You won't need one. Some people need a ventilator, and they're amazing machines. Did you know the first ventilator was made by Henry Ford? It's an incredible piece of equipment. But you'll be fine. The virus gets into your lungs, which is where you breathe. But you have 2 of them. Some say you have a spare. Some people only have 1 lung. It's true. But I don't talk about spares. I always want both. Given a choice, I want 2 lungs. So I've asked nurse, what's your name, Nancy? I've asked nurse Nancy to keep you comfortable. And Nancy is one of our finest nurses. I mean, just look at her. Incredible, right? Nancy, you're really incredible. You're not afraid of corona, are you, the Chinese plague? I didn't think so. Nancy will bring you whatever you need. And if you start coughing, do that into your elbow, so you don't make a mess. Okay, you're doing great. I'll see you later. Edit, you can call it a germ. You can call it a flu. You can call it a virus. You can call it many different names. I'm not sure anybody even knows what it is. From our /unpopular opinion, if you want to be proud of a large animal you killed, then you need to kill it with a spear. If you want to be proud of a large animal you killed, then you need to kill it with a spear. Seriously, where is the challenge in killing a buffalo with a high caliber rifle round from long range? Congrats, the animal never saw it coming. Your supersonic lead blew its brains out from 300 yards with the flick of a finger. Man the fuck up and fight the animal 1v1. It's got horns, and you have got a spear. It has brawn, and you have brains. Test your agility against its brute strength. Cut its heart out and eat it raw. Then I might be impressed. I, an atheist, accidentally said oh my GD instead of oh my science. You read the title, I just cannot believe I said the G word on accident. Am I even an atheist anymore? I don't like religion or anything, but like maybe it infiltrated me and is manipulating me to say oh my GD instead of oh my science. Please guys, it wasn't me, I didn't mean it. I'm very disappointed in myself. I think I need to go to science camp or go to therapy. What if I'm secretly religious? What should I do? Is my foreskin going to fall off? Please can someone give me advice, any advice is appreciated. Best regards, an atheist? Reddit, am I the asshole? My mum, 82F, told me, 12M, to do the dishes, 16, but I, 12M, was too busy playing Fortnite, 3 kills, so I, 12M, grabbed my controller, DualShock 4, and threw it at her, 138 kilometers per hour. She fucking died, and I, 12M, went to prison, 18 years. While in prison I, 12M, incited several riots, 3, and assumed leadership of a gang responsible for smuggling drugs, cocaine, into the country. I, 12M, also ordered the assassination of several celebrities, Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley and Jeffrey Epstein, and planned a terrorist attack, 9/11. Reddit, Ida? A young Ben Shapiro insults his classmate. Let's say, hypothetically, your mom was wearing a yellow raincoat. Now, also in this scenario, there is a man needing to get home. When he sees your mom, he will yell taxi, taxi. Now, why does he do this? The answer is actually quite simple. Your mom is so fat she is the size of a taxi, and the yellow raincoat she is theoretically wearing is the same color as a taxi. Therefore, the man mistakes her for a taxi. So, what has this hypothetical scenario shown us? It has shown us that your mom is very, very, fat. Boom. Once again destroyed with facts and logic. The US is a third world country. Sitting in his bedroom of his parents' white suburban home, the US is a third world country he typed on a computer his parents bought, the comment sent using the internet his parents pay for while his mom was cooking him chicken tendies. His mom walks in, disgusted. Gerald, please, you're 26 years old. When are you going to find a job, or a girlfriend, or anyone to talk to that isn't online? Shut up, mom, I'm starting a political revolution. He cries out. There's a nuclear meltdown in Lego City. A nuclear reactor has exploded in Lego City. Start the emergency helicopters. Hey! Build the helicopters, throw boron into the reactor and stop the disaster. The new Chernobyl collection from Lego City. My boyfriend, 22M, refuses to drink water unless I, 24F, dye it blue and call it gamer juice. I know that this post seems completely ridiculous, and trust me when I say that I think the same. I'm at my wit's end here. My boyfriend and I have been dating for about a year. I'm a casual gamer, I play just a few hours a week, while he's much more invested. He dropped out of college, and when he's not working at his part-time job, he's playing video games. This usually doesn't bother me, as he often invites me to play with him. He's a good boyfriend in every other way, and always manages to make time for me despite his gaming addiction. My boyfriend is about 50 pounds overweight, and I'm sure this can at least partially be chalked up to his lack of a healthy diet. He rarely eats anything actually healthy, and while the two of us have tried to go on a diet together, he quit after about a month in, and gained back the 5 pounds that he lost within 2 weeks. He very rarely drinks water, and usually prefers soda or Red Bull. Needless to say, he's really unhealthy. Recently, one of his online friends mentioned something called gamer juice, and my boyfriend asked me to make it for him. All it consists of is water and food coloring, and I assumed that he was just memeing, so I figured why not. I made him the water, and to my surprise, he actually drank it. The next day, I tried to give him some actual water, and he completely refused to drink it. I feel like I should at least be trying to get him to drink some water, because it's incredibly unhealthy that he never drinks any, but I think it's totally ridiculous that I have to do this for him. It seems childish, and while I chalk the first few times up to a joke, it's pretty clear that he's serious about this. He doesn't want water, he wants gamer juice. So, Reddit, what do I do here? Do I keep giving in to his gamer juice demands, or do I be honest about how insane this whole thing is? Help me. Impeachment. Trump sat back in his chair with a smirk. He was ecstatic about the fact that the Constitution would protect him from democracy due to the fact that the only way to remove him from office was to put him in a peach. A peach. He could never fit in such a small object, such a feat was impossible. Order, order, said Pelosi. Donald Trump, you have abused executive power for far too long. I order that you are put in peach. Trump laughed. Your Honor, there is no way I can fit in peach. Pelosi grinned and then turned to the gates at the back of the room. Bring out the giant peach. Trump's heart stopped. The gates slowly and ominously opened to reveal a massive peach the size of a 2-story building. Impossible, Trump said, his orange skin turning pale. How could this be? Today, ladies and gentlemen, said Pelosi with an even wider grin. Blumpfin peach. Please do not buy the BTS meal if you don't stand them. Buy a BTS stan on TikTok. Please do not buy the BTS meal if you don't stand them. You're preventing the actual BTS fans who have waited for months from having the BTS meal experience. Eating the sauces without understanding their significance is literally cultural appropriation, and it's not okay. Actual post from my university subreddit. Why don't W girls like my vegetable garden? I introduced myself to a girl in B Cafe the other day. I saw her sitting alone and I walked up to her. It felt like love at first sight. I said my name and we started talking about our majors and that typical stuff. But I couldn't think of how to keep the conversation going at one point. I pulled out my phone and asked if she wanted to see my vegetable garden from my hometown. She nodded and I started going through pics. I started it a few years ago and was really proud of my basil and tomatoes especially. I think she was really interested and I thought she really liked me and she was pretty too, so I asked her, "Do you want a date?" And she said, "No, I'm sorry." I felt really awkward, so I just apologized and said bye. This has kinda shattered my confidence and I can't stop thinking about it. Has anyone else had their confidence shattered at W in a similar manner? Ida for killing a general from Iran? I'm the president of a large and powerful Western country, and sometimes I conduct drone strikes in the Middle East. One day my drone strike accidentally killed an important general from Iran and now Iran is really mad at me. Ida? Edit, thanks for all the support. After careful consideration and all of your input, I've decided that a full land invasion of Iran complete with tactical nukes on all major cities is necessary. The bombings will commence shortly. My boyfriend can't stop saying the word poggers. Op post. It started innocently enough. I was reading on the bed while my boyfriend, Charlie, was playing on the computer with his friends. I don't play many games, so it's interesting to listen to the things he says to his friends, even if terminology goes over my head sometimes. There will be moments when I'll be focusing on something and he'll just spout off words that sound extraterrestrial. I'll just laugh it off and continue with what I was doing. It wasn't my thing, but he enjoyed it and it wasn't hurting anyone, initially. Like I said, I had my nose between the pages reading about various armchair philosophies as Charlie raved on in the background play Call of Duty, I think. He had won a match and swiveled his chair to face me, like a dog when they did a trick right. "Finally got a win tonight," he exclaimed, more for himself than for me. "That's great, babe," I replied, offering an admittedly false smile. I was happy he was happy, but I can't say I was invested. He turned back to the computer and talking to his friends again. They were hyping each other up. I heard Charlie mutter, "Now that was poggers." It was such a random word that it tickled my brain when I heard it and I couldn't help but laugh. Charlie leaned back in his chair as if he was exhausted himself as he swiveled to face me once more. I can't believe I just said that. Unironically, he echoed my laughter, offering a painfully adorable smile. "I feel like I should wash my mouth out with soap." He repeated the word a few times, making sure to let out popping noise when mouthing the P. We both laughed it off and he said goodnight to his friends. It was time for me to get some quality time with him, and with that my book remained on the nightstand until morning. In the morning I woke up early and felt like I had gotten a really good sleep, so I was in a good mood. And when I'm in a good mood, I make breakfast. I heard the stairs creak and figured the smell of bacon had lifted Charlie out of bed. He stumbled into the kitchen, his hair a complete mess. "That smells poggers," he groggily moaned. With mild amusement, I went to laugh. Charlie's face conveyed confusion as he stood in the kitchen. His eyes strained and mouth still slightly agape. I totally meant to say great, he continued, turning his gaze to me. "God, I'm tired," he chuckled before shuffling over to help me finish up with breakfast. The rest of the day was pretty normal. We even decided to go on a little impromptu date, the best we could with the world the way it is. But when we were winding down for the night, getting ready to brush our teeth, Charlie informed me that today was poggers, babe. I politely replied that if he was trying to mess with me it was going to get old fast. He shook his head. "It just kind of came out, sorry," he said, raising the toothbrush and dragging it across his teeth. We both brushed our teeth and in unison spit into the sink. As I was wiping my mouth I could see Charlie leaning in for a kiss. I turned my head, but when I met him face to face a putrid smell climbed into my nostrils. It was enough to make me recoil away from him. It was like battery acid poured over rotting roast beef. I instinctively put my hand over my nose. "Your breath is awful," I told him. Which we both knew was odd. He just brushed his teeth and it's not like he has gingivitis or anything. He went to point out as much by pointing to the sink but stopped. I followed his cue and looked into the sink where we had spit our toothpaste out. On my side of the sink, there were a few lingering bubbles. On his side of the sink, however, still clinging to the white porcelain was a thick and frothy substance. It was a sickly yellow with streaks of red that would suggest Charlie's dental hygiene had degraded significantly in just one night. He quickly reached over and turned the faucet on. Opening his mouth, he checked out the condition of his teeth. They looked completely fine. It took a good bit of water for the mess he had spit into the sink to budge it all. Eventually, with the convincing of steaming hot water, it disappeared. I went to say something to him, but he was captivated by his reflection with his mouth moving ever so slightly. His lips quietly repeating the P sound over and over. I told him that we should just go to bed and we'll make an appointment to see the dentist, make sure something weird wasn't going on with bacteria or something. We made our way to B and settled down for the night. With the lights turned off and the dark of a sleeping world creeping in, I closed my eyes. I don't know how long I was asleep for, but I was woken slowly by a small prodding on my shoulder. Charlie was ever so gently poking me, like a child who wants their parent to wake up on Christmas but is afraid to make them angry. I shuffled my body, still coming out of the throes of deep sleep. My body was sluggish and the blankets felt like they weighed 30 pounds. As I turned over, I reached behind me to flick on the light and the sudden brightness momentarily stunned my vision. I started wiping my eye and was about to ask what was wrong when a very familiar and pungent smell assaulted my senses again. It was worse this time, like it had been sitting for a while. I struggled to keep my urge to vomit subdued. This was made all the more difficult when I moved to brace my new position and felt my fingers press against the sheets. As my fingers pressed down, a hot and viscous liquid rose from the divots I had made. Then I saw Charlie. His face had that sickly yellow shit caked onto his face. He looked like an infant that fought hard against eating his baby formula. His mouth was moving and words were coming out, but just barely. His voice was raspy, I could tell they were painful. His body would tremble every time he started to speak. Such a horrid sight, watching each letter accompanied by a small spittle of the disgusting liquid, and before long I could see how it was about to get worse. As he kept going. Pog, Gers. Augers. I could see thin trails of smoke lifting from inside his mouth and under his lip. Horrified, I hadn't moved my hand yet, but once the new drippings had made their way to my hand, I could feel an intense burning sensation. Charlie started to shake more violently as I finally snapped to my senses and ran to the phone. Dialing 911 as fast as I could, I heard Charlie behind me beginning to shout poggers over and over. I could just imagine the molten ooze spewing from his mouth like Yellowstone as he attempted to clear his mouth of the heat. I didn't know what to even say to the operator, so I told the lady he had severe burns and trouble breathing. Keeping the phone off the hook as the operator confirmed that an ambulance was on the way, I made my way back to Charlie. It was so much worse than I first saw. The blankets on the bed where he was facing away from me were soaked. The liquid had saturated the sheets and bed to the point that they were dripping onto the hardwood. Plumes of smoke rose from the hardwood, threatening to bore right through the floor, but it wasn't my biggest concern. I couldn't help but picture Charlie laying there all night, saying that stupid word over and over, suffering but not wanting to disturb me. He looked so weak. I don't know what that fluid was, but it was taking all the nutrients Charlie needed to function with it. The whites of his eyes were beginning to stain yellow like a smoker's walls, and his skin was so visibly dry I thought he was going to start molting. He barely recognized the man I knew as he rose from the bed, shambling to his feet. It looked like some cheesy zombie flick with a small budget, but seeing it in person, happening to someone I loved, was so painful and scary. I started to worry about my safety as he got closer to me, the same yellow substance dropping from his slack jaw. His eyes were so different, I felt as though he couldn't even see me. He was just heading towards something. Poggers. A whisper came from his mouth, well-formed letters unfettered by the slob dwelling in his mouth. The voice was ethereal, it didn't even sound like Charlie anymore. Before Charlie closed in, I saw the sanctity of blue and red lights flashing beyond our bedroom window. Quickly I ran to the front door, letting paramedics in and trying to explain to them what was going on as we headed back up the stairs. Charlie looked so weak, but it took the three of them to subdue him as he fought back. His grotesque saliva burning holes in their clothing, though I don't think they noticed. They made it apparent that I wasn't allowed to go with him as they loaded him into the back of the ambulance. As they drove away, leaving me to my own devices, I could see one of the paramedics pressing a needle into Charlie's neck, and that was that he was gone. I was left standing there all alone in the dark. Eventually, I made it back upstairs and started cleaning up the mess. Luckily, the piles of vial no longer burned on contact, though the texture was still enough to make me wince. I didn't think there was a point washing anything, so I just pulled the bed with its covers out to the alleyways and rested them against the garage. I didn't sleep that night. Was so out of it I almost didn't hear the phone ringing, someone from the hospital telling me I could visit. I was there in no time. While looking at Charlie, who was still pretty heavily sedated but conscious, I asked the doctor if Charlie had said anything yet. The doctor said it would be difficult for Charlie to speak as he had chewed through his tongue during his night there. Looking at my boyfriend, I could see that even under sedation his jaw was moving up and down, his lips pursed and contorted as if trying to speak. However, with the drugs and the lack of a tongue, all that came out of his mouth were small whistles of air. As I stared at Charlie, I heard something behind me, a commotion caused by another person being rushed into the ER. Turning around, I saw one of the paramedics that had helped get Charlie into the ambulance rushing down the hall. So many people were talking at once, and I'm sure I must have been the only one to hear it. The ambulance driver speaking low under the mutter of voices and the chaos of chirping machinery. This is not poggers. Hello, fellow black people. Hello, fellow black people. It is us, multi-billion-dollar corporation. Here to remind you that we support your color, now that it has made it into international news and it is completely socially safe to mention you, allowing for us to capitalize on your existence now it's mainstream. Look, we even used the hashtag of event. Why did we wait this long to come out and support you? Ha ha, no more questions, black people. Buy our product. Buy our product. Buy our product. Among Us hater gets owned epically. Red Seuss. Red Suyus. I said Red Seuss, ha 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 ha. Why aren't you laughing? I just made a reference to the popular video game Among Us. How can you not laugh at it? Emergency meeting. Guys, this here guy doesn't laugh at my funny Among Us memes. Let's beat him to death. Dead body reported. Skip. Skip. Vote blue. Blue was not an imposter. Among Us in a nutshell, ha 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 ha. What? You're still not laughing your ass off? I made several funny references to Among Us and you still aren't laughing? Bruh. You hear that? Whoosh. What's whoosh? Oh, nothing. Just the sound of a joke flying over your head. What's that? You think him annoying? Kinda Seuss, bro. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, yay, gotta go do tasks. Ha 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 ha. Ooh, kids had it easy. Tell you kids, back in my day, we had it so rough. Or so much better, I can't tell anymore. Anyway, every day, we would wake up at 2 in the morning and go to the table for breakfast. We all lived in a closet, you see, so it was one room. And we would ask, me and my 64 brothers and 27 sisters, what's for breakfast, Mum? She would smack us all with a shoe and say cold beans. And if we complained and said but we had cold beans yesterday, because we had cold beans every day, she would smack us all 5 times with a shoe and say tough, it's all we can afford. I'm trying to feed a family of 93 with just half a silver Buckington. A silver Buckington was about the same as half a penny back in the day. Then we would head to school. We met up with the Johnson kids from down the road, and walked the 1,674 miles to school. On the way to school, we had to walk up a mountain so tall it extended to outer space. When we got to the top of the mountain, we would see the Peterson boys on their fancy bikes, which they don't make like they used to, and we would race them down the mountain. Then, when we got to school at 4 in the morning, the headmaster would come up to us and say, "You bloody kids are late." Then he would smack us all with the cane 10 times and tell us we had 7 years of detention. Then, we went to class, and Mr. Stevenson would say, "Okay, line up kids." Then he would spank us each 60 times, then hit us each with the cane 40 times each. Then it was 7 at night and we had to walk home. Then, when we got home, we'd ask, "What's for dinner, Mum?" And she'd smack us each 50 times with a pan and say, "Rotten cabbage." And if we complained, she would smack us each 100 times with a broom and say, "I'm trying to feed a family of 154 on just one eyelet sliver. Just you wait until your dad gets home." Now an eyelet silver was worth about as much as a grain of sand. Then, when our dad got home from his job at the soot factory, he would hit us all 180 times with his belt. If we had been naughty, we would hit us all another 600 times. Then, at 1:58, Mum would say, "Okay, time for bed." Then, we got into our potato sacks, and she would hit us each with a shoe 8 times before we went to sleep. On Saturdays, we went down to Uncle Bob's farm to work. We would have to walk 345 miles to the bus stop, then catch the Route 4 bus for 56 stops. We would get on the bus and pay our fare of 3 teddy roses. Now a teddy rose is worth about the same as a flake of skin. Then, if the ticket inspector came to us, he would hit us all 4 times with his baton. If any of us had lost our ticket, we would hit us all 10 times again and throw us off the bus, and we had to walk the rest of the way. When we got to the farm, Uncle Bob would drive to the gate in his tractor, hit us all 780 times with his crowbar, and tell us to get in his trailer so he could drive us to the farmhouse. Then, we had to plow the fields with a toothbrush in the blazing summer heat. Now, they don't make summers like they used to, so it was about 1,345.4 degrees Spencer, or 67 degrees centigrade using your newfangled metric system. Then, we would have to milk the cows. Now, they don't make cows like they used to, so each cow weighed about 459 hogsheads, or 3.2 tons in your newfangled metric system. If you touched a cow's udder, it would kick you and you would die, so you had to be really careful when you milked the cows. Then, when we were done, Uncle Bob would say, "Okay kids, time for your pocket money." He would give us each 9 copper jemimas, which are worth about one political promise each, and beat us each 6 times with his tractor before we left. On Sundays, we would meet the Johnson boys and go down to the river. Now, they don't make rivers like they used to, so this river was about as wide as the whole of America, and as deep as the Marianas Trench, and it was filled with liquid tungsten. We would play by the old oak tree near the river, climbing on it and building tree houses and such. Now, they don't make trees like they used to, so this tree had a trunk as thick as a city, and was tall enough that the branches on the top could scrape the moon. One day, little Jimmy fell from the top of the tree. When he hit the ground, the only bit of his body we could recognize was his left eyeball. We picked up all his bits and rushed him to the doctor's surgery. Dr. James said, "Oh, it's just a scratch, little Jimmy, don't worry, pop a plaster on it and you'll be right," and he gave little Jimmy a plaster and a lollipop and he was okay. After we finished playing by the river, we would go into town and get some candy. Now, back in the day, you could give the shopkeeper one bronze winglet, which is worth about as much as a cigarette butt, and he would give you the entire stock of the store. So we would go and get our candy, and we'd go into the town square and eat it. Now, we didn't have any of your fancy food laws back in the day, so there was all kinds of stuff in our candy. Bleach, rust, bones, you name it. So we would always get a little hyper after our candy. One day, when we were hyper, we went up to Mr. Boris's car, the only car in the town, and touched it. As we touched it, we saw Dad storming down the street holding his belt. "You kids, having fun while I work all day in the soot factory just so you can have grilled water for tea every night, I ought to smack you all." We were sure he was going to smack us, but then he said, "No, I got a better idea, I'll take you to see Mr. Henderson, he'll set you right." Now, Dad had told us about Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson was a veteran from the Great War, where he got a really bad injury, but we never knew what it was. Dad walked us all down to the pub, and we saw a left testicle propped up on a peg leg. "Mr. Henderson," said Dad, "I have some kids here who need a good whooping." Then, Mr. Henderson picked up the entire pub, and hit us each 4,006 times with it. Then, Dad said, "Right, I gotta go back to the soot factory, you kids run on home now." Now, by now it was 1 p.m., which meant it was curfew. While we were walking out of the town square, we heard a man shout, "Oi, you bloody kids, it's curfew." We turned around and saw the constable holding his baton. He hit us each 160,265 times with his baton, then put us in jail for 60,123,865 years. Now, they don't make jails like they used to. This one had 5-mile thick steel walls, and a single hole in the top let in some light. We were in there for about 13,526 years, until Mom baked the constable some cardboard pie so he would let us out. Then, she hit us all 1,292 times with a washboard, and grounded us for the rest of our lives. So don't you come complaining to me about nonsense like not having TV while hiking 25 miles to school. Intellectual property of you/octagonal butthole with due royalties paid. If I see this copypasta without due credit, my team of 4 mods can promise you at least 4 negative karma, okay? Penis size should be a volumetric measurement. Penis size should be a volumetric measurement. Let me explain. Western culture has popularized the outdated unit of inches as the common benchmark for comparing penis size. However, it's 2021 now, we are advancing towards being a multi-planetary species. A single-axis measurement for a 3D object all of us possess is medieval, and simply not fit for current use. I suggest a new unit, millimeters. However, if this becomes commonly adopted, I wish to be credited. Please state the unit of penis size as Venus penis points, as I am certain I am the first individual to suggest this. The new methodology of measuring penis should be as followed. The penis is inserted into a measuring cup until it cannot be inserted further. The volume of liquid displaced should equal penis volume. Complete the conversion. 1 milliliter of displaced penis water equals 1 Venus penis point. Please, help me abolish this outdated system. It wrongly paints a world of penis size based on length. Perhaps residents of higher than average African nations have gained an unfair advantage over our Asian brothers. We are using a racist system based on length, not volume, to discriminate penises worldwide. Random r/child-free post, but I replaced child with French people. It's late for me, so apologies if my spelling and wording is hot garbage, but just wanted to get this out of my system a bit before I go to bed. I'm a 22M, American, who lives with my spouse, 22F, American, and we are happily French-free. One issue I find as someone who is not too keen on French people is how oftentimes I feel there is no escape from being around them. Went to my friend's and his twin's birthday recently. It was outside and we're all full vaccinated. We're a bunch of 20-somethings, so it was of course drinking, smoking weed, music, the whole shebang, until his twin's friend brought in a French friend. Yes, a Frenchie. Had to turn the music into French, stopped speaking English until it had to leave a couple hours later. I wanted to start swimming as an exercise with my GF because she loves swimming and exercising with her helps motivate me because I'm lazy AF when it comes to it. Oops, sorry. Every single pool is brimming with French people. Smile. Guess you're just gonna have to come in at 6 a.m. or 9 p.m. if you want some peace and quiet. No, thanks. I wanted to try going to a nudist camp group thing with my GF because I thought it might be an interesting experience for us. Oops, sorry. They're all French friendly. No, thanks. Wanna go to Burning Man? French. Wanna go shopping? Frenchies. Wanna go to the park? French people. Wanna go to a shooting range? People from France. Library? French person. Circus? Frenchies. Gym? French humans. Water park? A person from the country known as France. Dear God, can I just please be anywhere with just francophobes, please? Please. I want to be able to swear, talk about inappropriate shit with my friends, and do things in peace. The only place you can be without Frenchies is a bad restaurant, that's mainly it. I'm not saying I think French people should be banned from everywhere, but dear Lord, I wish there was more non-French only places and activities. Even for Francophiles to have a break and exist without French people around them for 5 minutes. Anyway, long rant, going to bed. This is a real email a bio teacher sent to their students. Lamau. Guys, I really wanted to believe that Virginia Western was not the cesspool of morons all my fellow biology faculty told me it would be. Unfortunately, your finals, which I purposely made as easy as humanly possible, tanked harder than a Kardashian marriage. I personally apologize for expecting the bare minimum from you as students. If you look at your grade book, you will notice that you all have gotten a 50-point grade bump as extra credit, and no, this was not because any of you deserved it, but it was in fact so I don't get my ass fired when the dean asks me, hey, why the fuck did 50% of your class fail an introductory biology class? To whom I will reply, I don't know, maybe it's because these Klingons are 18 years old and still giggle every time I say the term phagocytosis. I'd like to add that in fact one of you got a 5/100ths on this exam, for which I salute you. Considering this was 100% multiple choice and the statistical probability of you missing more than 90% guessing is actually higher than your chances of getting laid, which for this student would be an act of God, please stay out of the gene pool, you know who you are. I could have actually taken a shit on the Scantron, wiped it off on the grass, and I am pretty certain my feces could have picked up more correct answers than you deliberately bubbled in. So congratulations, on making me lose faith in the public school system, and in humanity. Oh, you're a fan of girls? Name every girlfriend. Caitlin. I miss you. Is your child texting about communism? BRB equals better redistribute bread. LOL equals let's overthrow landlords. SMH equals seize means of production, hurry. TBH equals take back housing. STFU equals support the factory union. TFW equals tyranny-free workplaces. ROFL equals revolutions on for later. IDC equals international democratic confederalism. BTW equals bourgeoisie trample workers. I have a theory about the missing submarine. Trigger warning. A blue whale can grow up to 30 meters long and is quite gigantic, while Titan might seem attractive to the whales, and it may have wanted to mate. A blue whale's penis can become gigantic, and with it, he has fucked up the glass. Either water leaked in, and they drowned, or the whale's penis got stuck and sealed the hole. Due to the pressure and pressure difference, the penis gets sucked in, sealing the hole. However, at the same time, the pressure difference sucks out all the whale sperm, up to 1,500 liters of sperm, and they drown in the sperm. I'm not sure how the pressure works with whale penises, it was just a thought. But let's say the sperm doesn't ejaculate, and the whale's penis seals the hole and gets stuck due to the pressure. The whale panics and swims away, making it impossible to find the boat. Then they run out of oxygen. What do you mean you have a breeding fetish? What do you mean you have a breeding fetish? You mean you get turned on by the idea of impregnating a girl? Newsflash, pal, that's called being a normal fucking person. I swear to God, you virgins are so fucking gooned out on porn that we have come full circle to the point where you think it's kinky to do the most basic foundational fucking thing in the entire reproductive process. Stop trying to make literally the most vanilla concept in all of sex that every fucking person has done for all of human history, even your own boring ass parents, part of your weird fucking incel discord beta cuck depravity. My son is too scared of the skibidi toilet to start potty training. My son is 3 years old, and we've been trying to potty train him for a while now. Unfortunately, we've hit a major roadblock, his fear of the skibidi toilet. You might be wondering what a skibidi toilet is, and honestly, I had no idea either until we encountered it. From what I've gathered, skibidi toilet is basically a new genre of YouTube video about evil singing toilets. Basically think zombies, but instead they're toilets that sing in your face. I was fine to let my son watch the videos at first, as they seemed innocent enough and fairly harmless, but they soon devolved into strange post-apocalyptic material with grotesque toilets fighting in a war against mankind, so I finally intervened and cut him off. I thought that was the end of it. He can't watch the videos anymore, so Therese, nothing to be afraid of. Well, I was wrong. This has since turned into a complete nightmare for us at home. We recently started potty training and he refuses to use the toilet now due to Skibidi toilet. Whenever we try to put him on it, he screams and refuses to go anywhere near it. We've tried explaining that Skibidi toilet isn't real and our toilet is completely safe, but it seems like it's too overwhelming for him. We even let him decorate it with stickers, hoping it would make him less afraid, but no luck so far. It utterly breaks my heart to see him so anxious about such a simple thing that every child goes through. I'm not sure how to proceed from here. Should we give him more time and hope that he warms to the toilet, or is it better to try a completely different approach? I know every child is different, but has anyone else experienced something similar? How did you deal with Skibidi toilet in your household, if you encountered it? I saw a schoolgirl's shoulder. I saw exactly 1.09441 square inches of a girl's shoulder today. I immediately fell to my knees, as the rush of dopamine signaling my impending earth-shattering orgasm started making me moan loud enough to deafen everyone in the immediate vicinity. What followed was a torrential downpour of every single sperm cell I ever have or ever will produce, shot out so hard that my penis was ripped apart by my ubernut accelerating to 5% the speed of light by the time it left my urethra. It vaporized the girl as it punched right through her, barely slowed, before cutting through a structural support beam in the school as if it were a nuclear-powered angle grinder. The sheer weight of this historical nut, combined with the total destruction of everything in its path, caused the school to collapse, and every female in the state of Illinois to fall pregnant with my children. When the final casualty toll was tallied, there were 458 deaths, 1,426 injuries, and over 9 million pregnancies. Trigger warning. I fucking hate red delicious apples. My dad bought them a lot when we were younger. I hate them. They're red. But not delicious, they're actually horrid. The flesh is all grainy and the skin is thick and doesn't break with her teeth. Literally like eating plastic. And if you were lucky you would get one that actually tasted like something sweet. 9/10 times they were mushy grainy flavorless apples. The fucking water on the skin had more flavor than the apple itself. My sister loves these apples, I can't stand them. I see them in the market now and they're dirt cheap and I'm staring like. I fucking wonder why. You're a curse, an abomination against apples, you aren't an apple, you're a fraud. I have actual fucking beef with these apples.